on 531 VI.
It is 7:34 for Wednesday, the 24th of September. Great to be in your company. Maloilele. I'm William Terite in the hot seat with you all the way through until 9 a.m. Now, the government has announced changes to residency rules that could open doors for many skilled workers in New Zealand. The New Zealand Association for Migration and Investment says it's a positive step, but warns there are still barriers that may still shut out talented tradespeople. Here to discuss more is Deputy Chair Nick Frost. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, William. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for your time. Look, give us a breakdown of the changes, perhaps your reaction to it, and maybe what stands out the most.
Well, I guess in a nutshell, the changes, immigration have announced two new pathways with regards to skilled residents. So the first is a skilled work experience pathway, which on the face of it is fantastic as it opens up a pathway for people that don't have bachelor's degrees. And the second pathway is a trades and technician pathway, which aims to target the infrastructure and manufacturing industries. So the association are cautiously optimistic that these are going to be positive introductions. However, the devil will be in the detail once the actual policy is released. And so we're a bit cautious that the English language settings, for example, might unfairly impact some people, especially from the Pacific Islands, parts of Asia, where the current settings are a little bit too high and unreasonable for the types of occupations that we're looking at here.
I see. And so you've also touched on a particular qualification which indicates an upper intermediate level of English proficiency as a major hurdle. Could you spell that out, what that means in practical terms for Pacific migrants who may be skilled but not fluent at, say, a university level of English?
Yes, that's sort of the same sort of question that the association is having at the moment. It just seems completely unreasonable. So at the moment, the requirement for skilled residents is a 6.5 overall on IELTS. Now, that is university level English language. To put that into context, the recently announced business investor category only has an overall score of 5.0 in IELTS. Now, that is considerably lower. That's more in line with conversational English, which as an association we believe is a lot more reasonable.
Yes.
6.5 can be quite tricky for a lot of people to get. They might be very proficient in conversational English with regards to speaking and listening, but they might stumble when it comes to writing and reading. And if they stumble in one of those two areas, it brings their score down quite far, and they might miss out due to the fact that they might misspell a few words, which we believe is unreasonable.
Yeah. And just to, I suppose, continue with that line of questioning, I mean, what would work better? I mean, you have highlighted perhaps a way, but let's dig deeper. I mean, what would work better?
Well, I guess consistency would be the main thing. So if immigration have recently announced a business investor visa where, you can reasonably expect people would need a reasonable level of English, they've got to communicate with business deals, they've got to communicate with investors, with employees, with other, aspects within the business community. So that requires a decent level of English. So then some consistency there with regards to skilled tradespeople, for example, painters and plasterers. The association does not see a reason why people in those trades require university level English to perform their duties. So a level of consistency across the board. If 5.0 is the new benchmark, then 5.0 for skilled residents should be the way forward.
What message do you think that sends to people who contribute through, say, labour and service rather than capital?
I guess it really shows immigration's current stance on wanting high-skilled, high-level migration at this point in time. Now, the fantastic aspect about these two changes is it shows that the government are listening to industry and sectors, and they've opened up these two new pathways. However, unless they do tweak some of those current settings, for example, the English language, then these new pathways aren't going to have the impact that they believe they will.
And looking ahead, what changes would you like to see to make sure migrants who are not just degree holders or investors can secure that long-term residency and stability in New Zealand?
I think these two new changes are a positive step in the right direction. As I say, the association is cautiously optimistic about these changes. They sound great on the face of things, and they do open up doors that weren't previously there. They do make that residence pathway a lot more accessible to people, especially people that haven't been through the tertiary education sector. But as I say, just having some consistency, fixing the requirement for English, because as I say, with trades, with technicians, you don't need university level English to integrate yourself into New Zealand society. You don't need university level English to perform a lot of those trades. As long as you can communicate with the people standing next to you, as long as you can understand health and safety guidelines, then that should be all that's necessary. Anything higher than that is a barrier, an unnecessary barrier.
There's also, I mean, this is a more broader conversation, but there's also, comments going out in the media at the moment, particularly from New Zealand First, in terms of it could be a stepping stone easier for people to get into Australia. What do you make of that?
I mean, well, Winston's comments were that almost half of the New Zealanders going to Australia at the moment and applying for citizenship are made up of people that were not born in New Zealand. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, I didn't get the exact quote. But I mean, at this stage, there's nothing really to support that side of things. I mean, yes, we have, in my personal practice, I have encountered people that want residence so that they can move across to other countries such as Canada and Australia. However, that's very few and far between. Most people come to New Zealand for the lifestyle, for the casual way of life, so to speak, and, they want to come here for the beauty and the people and that sort of thing. So that's the main draw card for New Zealand. I don't see a significant portion of people obtaining residence and then departing the country almost immediately.
Yeah. Hey, thank you very much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it, and your analysis of the changes as well.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me.
That is Nick Frost, Deputy Chair of the New Zealand Association for Migration and Investment there.